Hello and good day, my fellow travelers and backpackerinos. It's that time of year again to snag the cheapest flights around the world. I've done a few of these videos before, and the route is pretty much the same with a few notable variations. It's still just using discount airlines mostly, and not using a single around-the-world ticket. With this route, you're sacrificing greater flexibility in destination and time, but this route is way cheaper, so let's get into it. This trip's going to start in San Francisco, head to Hong Kong, Macau, Thailand, Sweden, the UK, and back to San Francisco. It's going to take roughly over a month's time with options for more. If you're wondering if the round the world trip is worth it, yes, it is worth it. This is cheaper than doing two separate round trip flights from North America to Europe and Asia. But honestly, not by that much more. I just find it more interesting doing two completely different parts of the world in the same go. So the first flight I found using kayak. Really, you can use any search engine and I'm just used to it, and it seems like they have better deals sometimes. That being said, I always check directly onto native airline websites. Sometimes they're cheaper, but usually they're more expensive if there's any change at all. The first flight leaves on October 2nd. From San Francisco International and flies directly to Hong Kong International. If you follow the news right now, there are mass protests going on which have caused delays, but even before that, it was one of, if not the cheapest route across the Pacific Ocean, that I know of at least. So check out Hong Kong. I spent about 3 days there, and it felt like it was enough time to see most of everything, but a few more days wouldn't have hurt. The next step is to take the ferry over to Macau. This is basically Asia's Las Vegas. It's a former Portuguese colony which has a similar relationship to mainland China, kind of like how Hong Kong does, being semi-autonomous. Macau's worth 1 or 2 days, but from here you're going to take another flight on AirAsia to Bangkok, Thailand. There's several days you can leave on the $65 price range, but be aware this airline has a low weight limit on carry-on, so you might have to pay extra if you don't pack lightly. Meals also aren't included, but they are incredibly cheap to purchase. Just a FYI. Once in Thailand, enjoy the palaces and chaos of Bangkok. Ride an elephant in the mountains of Chiang Mai, check out Angkor Wat in neighboring Cambodia, enjoy the beautiful beaches to the south. There's a lot of options. But for the cheapest way continuing east on this around the world trip, you're going to make sure you want to end the Thailand itinerary in Krabi, Thailand on October 27th. Here, you will board a Norwegian Airlines flight to Stockholm, Sweden, which costs $130. It's a long flight and nothing's free aside from the checked bag, so make sure to bring some snacks. Stockholm isn't nearly as cheap as Thailand, but it's still manageable. So you'll either want to spend a week or so in the country and maybe use the other discount airlines Europe has to offer to check out any number of places around the continent. That being said, the cheapest option just might be to hang out in Sweden or fly to Eastern Europe till you're ready to head back to the States. But since it's a round the world trip, I'd recommend checking out at least a few things before leaving. The final flight leaves Stockholm on November 5th, 12th, 19th, or 26th, heading back to your starting destination in San Francisco at a price point of $212, again on Norwegian Airlines. So altogether, this trip is covering at least 5 countries, takes 4 to 6 weeks to complete, and cost $571. Keep in mind that's just the airfare. It's not including the ferry cost from Hong Kong to Macau, which is around $30, and transport between airports, which can vary between $5 and $20, depending what mode of transportation you take. A really handy tool I use to figure this out is roamtorio.com. You plug in any route and it gives you a variety of transport methods and how much they cost with links to the operating companies. It's not always 100% accurate, but it will give you a ballpark estimate and just give you an idea if you're being scammed or bilked when you're dealing with people who prey on tourists. While this route's fairly similar to last year's video, a few things have changed since then, the biggest of which is Icelandic discount carrier WOW went out of business. That was also the last leg in the trip that I used last time, but they're done now, so it's kind of moot. And I just wanted to point that one out because at some point all these crazy cheap flights might not actually be around forever, and some of these deals and routes are just incredibly fluid and just change all the time, so get them while you can, I guess.